Morning, everybody. It's Aaron, and I wanted to go over my paths today. Just give you a little bit of, well, show you my collection and kind of explain the care that I give to them generally. It's mostly for the mottled leaf paths, the complex hybrids. These are all guys that I keep indoors. So they're kept at around 70 degrees all the time. I don't have good humidity in Colorado. I do have a humidifier in the room, but we're usually around 40%. I'll get 60% a couple times a year, but it's it's short-lived. So I get Eastern light, and I end up watering these guys about every 5 days. When we're really wintry out, it goes to about every 6 days, and when it's really hot out, about every 4 days is the max. And I do have air conditioning, so in the summer, these guys, I only let the house get up to 77 at the most. So yeah, they don't have to suffer. They don't have to work there much. They've got a pretty posh life. But around every 5 days is what I found is a good watering schedule. I know a lot of people don't like to go by days, but I found that these guys just, they're not twice a week and they're not once a week. They're every 5 days. Um, they are not true epiphytes, so they say, which is true. You'll never see aerial roots with your paths, but they do need air, and they don't like soil, or at least I've never found them to like soil. So I use a Paphiopedilum mix, or sorry, a Phalaenopsis mix for mine. It's just large bark. It's got some pieces of charcoal and some large perlite. And I use that. I keep holes in the sides of my pot, and I keep a good amount of moss on top for most of them. Um, the bigger guys, I don't put much moss on top just because with that like circumference in that pot, I don't trust it getting dry as quick as it needs to get dry. Because these guys, they're not, one of those plants that you can leave sitting in water. They don't like wet roots, but they don't really like dry roots either. They're kind of in between. I feed every time I water, um, with just a low level of feed. I don't play around with food a lot. I don't do seaweed or play with bloom boosters or anything like that. I've kind of found that orchids are pretty simple when it comes to nutrients. At least that's where I'm at right now. So I might be eating those words. Another good use for this moss, in addition for helping them to root, is it's a good indicator as to when you need to water. Not a perfect indicator, but usually this guy I found around day 4, he'll get dry and I'll let them be crunchy for a day. And then that's when I water. Again, this is very generalized. I know each environment is different, but here in lovely Colorado, that's what I found to work. So here's the mix that I use. It is, like I said, a Phalaenopsis mix. I get this at my local orchid shop. Songbird and the Orchid, shout out. Um, and when my paths start to get bigger, this is my pot of choice. They're bulb pans. They're kind of expensive for what they are, but they are, oopsies, absolutely wonderful. I don't, you don't need the depth. I know, like Ed's Orchids, he really likes to use those rose pots for frags. Um, I found my bulldog path really likes that, but as far as my phals go, or paths go, they really prefer to have more room to spread. Their roots never go really deep, and they'll grow around, but they're just not terribly root heavy plants. And if you got somebody like this, they will love that extra space on top to grow and spread because, you know, he can't wait to become a huge mat of flowers. And I can't wait either, so I'm going to help him along with that. So these are the guys that I grow out in the sunroom. They tend to be the ones that just need a drop in temperature or ones that didn't do so good inside. Uh, I really try to grow any orchids I can inside just because my real estate out here is, fastly disappearing, especially as I want to acquire more species that just refuse to have, the constant warmth of being indoors. So these guys are the ones that I feel just do better with the cool drop in temperature. They need the better air movement, higher humidity, and like I said, I probably give them a little bit too much light right now. I was giving them southern light with a curtain, but again, I think southern light's just too much for them. I think they would be much happier with a little less, as indicated by this incredibly short flower spike. Not his. He's supposed to do that. But in addition to the ones that I find need to have lower temperature, I also seems to be that they like to have much larger, airier media. So big pieces of perlite or hydrostone are really helpful. I wouldn't try to grow these guys in a terrestrial mix because they're much closer to epiphytes than they are to terrestrials in my mind. So try to let them, get a lot of air. Again, you don't want them to go super dry. So watering every 5 days again kind of works. But, and this is my multifloral path. Whoop. Got him from Sunset Valley Orchids. As a seedling, he has yet to bloom for me. So I don't really know exactly what it takes to get this guy to bloom. I think I'm getting close. He doesn't look unhappy. I don't think the leaves are going to get much longer, but hopefully I'll get a bud here soon. He does not like to have anything moist on his leaves. And I think now that we're hitting winter and their media is staying wet a little bit longer, that's why I've got these dead leaves here. Because originally I did have him packed with moss, and he just started to shed his lower leaves. So I quickly pulled that off and, did a quick rescue. But these guys are my sunroom paths. Say hi. So I work at a bakery, and this is what I use to water the large majority of my orchids. So I don't have to share water. I get cake dome tops and switch them out. It's probably time to switch that up. He got a little mutated in the sun. But this way they can all sit in their own little reservoir of water. And especially in the summer, I can let them sit for a couple minutes in that water and really let them hydrate. Because they need it. In the winter, obviously not so much. But I don't care for the method of trying to run water just through the bark. I feel like I end up using a lot of water that way. And this is just a nice clean system that I've found. So there you have it. That's pretty much my care on paths and how I get them to rebloom and how I get them to thrive for me. I don't mess around with limestone or anything fancy like that. Like I said, I keep it pretty simple. I am in the Rocky Mountains, so maybe having, the mountains right there, maybe I've got the limestone in there already or something. I don't know. But they seem to do good with tap water, just regular fertilizer. Next video, I'm kind of thinking about doing my voodoo lilies. I know it's not an orchid, but I've been working with them lately, so I think I'm going to have to, move on to that. But thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time.